All right.
All right.
So as far as I'm aware, we have found a meth lab, and I'm going to give you my POV so you understand what I mean by missing context. I know we found a meth lab last week, sent to the lab, etc., etc., put in charges. I came back and there's conversations about 13 alphas, bravos. I put a command report up on it. We were planning on speaking with that once we got everyone around. And now we respond to a meth lab, quote unquote, that was found. Obviously, that was a meth lab. Upon arrival, we're getting shot at. So I don't know what happened in between all this. So I'm trying to get what's the background? What happened? What's with the 13 A's, 13 B's? What does all this mean?
Okay. Let me take this so it's plain.
Yeah.
That call came from a drug call.
Okay.
One drug sale.
Is that
No,
hold on.
And actually, they rolled up onto it.
Well,
I don't think there's a drug sale call.
Okay, thank you. When you say drug sale call, because I just saw these popping up, is this?
I saw one up there.
I got you. Okay. So what happened?
Well, I think we'd need to talk to whoever the first responding unit was, which I don't think was Cider, based on what I was hearing on the radio.
Basically, what happened was Ramona was up there investigating a drug sale call. She gets there, she sells a meth lab, she pulls off, calls additional units. We stage, we roll in. The second we roll in, they open fire. They were staged up on roofs. They were staged inside. It was a fucking kill box. Now, by definition, would that be a 13 alpha? It is a staged gunfight that they are taking refuge on a building, on a rooftop, on the sides of the building. They had individuals staged in cars, ambushing us from all different directions. Is that not an ambush?
That is not a fucking 1013 alpha.
Well, let's start there. Let's start there because me and Bustin were talking about this earlier. And what did you tell me?
What? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What? So I made a command report for this. What is? So I went and referenced back the SOPs. What is a 13 alpha and what is it? What do you think it is called?
A 1013 alpha is when things have gone on too long, like when all of the officers wipe off the scene. There is a time, and we fixed this over beers. I want to point that out. Like,
so, like, let me throw an example out.
Wait. What I don't want. Hold on.
Pause.
What this cannot turn into is we spoke about it at one point because let's be honest, there's been conversations. They got cooked. I'm looking at the SOP document. So what is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be when things go to shit. That is when. Hold on.
Excuse me,
Ronald
Bustin,
McDonald. Who the fuck are you?
I'd like to have a word with Bustin.
No. Go away.
All right now, man. Later.
All right.
Have a great day. Say I'm famous.
All right. So, what is it supposed to be?
What this is supposed to be is that when an alpha is called, it's supposed to be after we have gone through the base level of response, which is supposed to be the 8 units, and after things have subsided. Otherwise, things are going to consistently turn into a shit show all the time.
So 13 alpha is okay. So 13 alpha, what can you define what that means so it's better understood? To me, what I'm translating that as is initial set of officers, let's say hypothetically 8 units, go in. They may get shot down. Some time sort of subsides, after which a 13 alpha can be called, at which point additional units can come in. The only situation in which that is not the case is if enough time has gone by. Is that accurate or am I wrong?
Well, let's go to page 15 of the SOPs because I made sure it was fixed after everyone talked.
Okay.
If you go there, it specifically states 5 5 criminals.
Wait, where
and
the fuck
police
did it
are
go?
limited to 8, and this is in red and yellow in bold letters. Are limited to 8 unless the
It's here.
entire event has lasted over 25 minutes and is filed. Neither of which those were the scenario. Yeah.
Wait, what? Wait,
Today.
page 15, right?
Yeah, that is there. I promise you that is not in black and white. It's in red and yellow.
The
I'm
only
telling
time
you
you
that-
don't
that is there.
respond, calling 13 should be clear.
And there's problems y'all are missing in this as
Yeah.
well that we haven't even began to unpack of why I came on that radio channel. And when you hear it, it's going to change your
Yeah.
entire perspective on this.
I'm not. I want to be clear here. I think my objective, and I think Cider's objective, is make sure that this is properly understood. So
Yes, and that's the point I want to get to here is to explain to you what just happened, because
Yeah.
without you fully understanding, I don't think we're going to be able to have that conversation, because what you need to understand is that me and Payne today, we made a visualization of the radio, the thing we talked about.
Yeah.
There were 15 officers in TAC.
How did that happen?
Listen, I'm not. The reason I went on there is because that was about to be a shit show that all of us would have to deal with and would not be fun for anyone.
Okay.
And I was calling back units going up the fucking highway to go into that. And by the end of it, I need you to understand there were 10 officers on scene and down in total. 10.
This
And me
slide,
and Payne
this
know
slide
that
is
for a
no
fact.
good.
So that's where I'm going with this is like, I interjected
Yeah,
because
this
that was
slide.
about to be a
This
major
slide
fucking
is.
shit show.
I know what he's saying. This slide sucks,
And this
though.
1013 alpha stuff, we have reiterated this, and they
Yeah.
all know this from Academy. So what I'm not getting is like, why are they failing to like be able to? There's something going on.
Well, so
And
let's chop it up. Did we had the proper amount of units bussing? Am I correct?
Yeah,
When we
I looked
originally
at the
went there?
map as well.
So the problem number one is, where did the additional units come from? Right? Irrespective of anything else, how did they attach?
I believe it was Cider dropped down to 2, requested 4 additionals. I broke the comm and said that I'd already sent additionals. However, Cider acknowledged it as well, so I know you heard it, which is good. No problems there. I think what happened is Dimitri and his passenger drove up, even though I said not to, because
This is beforehand,
together,
right?
and
Is this
this is during the shootout.
okay? All right.
Yeah. So I think they disregarded what I said of don't go, we don't need additionals. I already sent them.
Yeah.
And they just went, right? So I think that's a problem. The second problem is Romano hit 13 alpha instantly. When you were on scene for what, 30 seconds? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So I see. So I'm gonna give you the
Hold
Brian.
on, hold on.
Mhm.
This is 100 dispatch. Why are you still up there? You don't stay at a place that we were just dangerously just blown down and just stay up there collecting forensics. Wait for the scene to cool down. What are you doing? Get out of there. Oh my fucking lord. Okay.
Yeah, that was Black that made that call.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the wrong call by Black. You need
It's
to wait.
fine.
The forensics
Here's-
ain't going anywhere. Just wait.
All right. So
I mean, realistically, if 8 officers are shot down, they're,
Yeah.
Forensics are the least of my worries.
all right. So here's let me take a look at some things. I want to make sure I don't misspeak here. Let me take a look. Government announcement.
Hey, is this a conversation for later? Maybe.
I
Overall.
think this is fine.
Okay.
I'm not too pressed about these conversations. Listen, I think we need to get used to just breaking the walls down. And that's a good thing.
Guys, officer just got shot down.
I know, because I just told them not to do what they just did, and they did it anyway. So that's what will continue
Why
to
did you
happen
drive
unless we're
into
fucking
Yellow
smart.
Jack after you said not? Okay.
Okay,
Who was
so
I don't.
all right,
Listen,
so
I'm not trying to be difficult, but there's just common sense things we need to start thinking about and making sure that the regular officers think about in terms of this stuff, or this is going to be a daily occurrence, and we don't want that.
yeah, that's it's gonna take time to get there.
It is, but we
And
were there,
It's
and it
fucking
just doesn't
catered
make
shit.
sense while we've regressed so
Yeah,
heavily.
yeah. I'm pretty sure he might have been a hostage.
wait,
Keep
who?
going. I just keep going.
Okay, so a couple things. The first is this 13 alpha thing, right? And so I'm taking a look at this. Did we announce when this slide was updated?
Yes, and multiple shift changes everywhere, and yes, this was just hours ago. We even talked about again.
Okay, well, the reason I bring that up is I'm trying to look. I don't see it in the like announcements. And the reason I'm looking at that is that's like bringing stuff. So here's where I'm coming from, right? Is if it's not in the announcements, if you're not present, this kind of goes back to that meeting we had.
It was
Couple days.
announced in the biggest way that we could possibly announce something, to be clear.
Where?
Like in the top of meeting that would have thousands of participants in, and it would be well populated and accessible for everyone. It was announced in the heaviest way it could, to be fair.
Interesting.
Here's my question. I talked to you, Payne, yesterday, correct? When we were breaking
That's
down
not
13
good enough.
Alpha after the shit show. And the understanding that I got was that a 13 Alpha is something to where it is a staged shooting. They were set up, they are setting up to ambush officers and to kill them. Is that correct?
Yeah, but remember the key point we talked about with the 25 minutes, right? And
I didn't that I don't even know where the 25 minutes came from. I'd never heard that in the conversation, and I'm willing to hear it now. I just heard it from the commissioner. All I was in understanding was
I thought
the
you
ambush.
acknowledged it because you even said, yeah, that chase was going on for like 45 minutes at that point.
Well, I thought that was the second half of it. I thought that there was either one staged ambush, they are there to murder officers,
it's like
or
both.
25 minutes. Okay, so it's both.
What Bussin is saying was also how I understood it. I'm also looking at this slide, and it's not inherently clear. I understand that there's other avenues in which there was, let's say, an attempt to convey this, but y'all know as much as the rest of us, right? Things are going to get conveyed, but the acknowledgement isn't necessarily going to be present, right?
I'm
And
still
so-
not understing on this slide where there's any interpretation other than that when it's in bold letters.
I'll tell you how I read it, because when Bussin brought it up to me, that's the first thing I did. Is I pulled up the slide. I'm like, okay, let me take a look at our reference. So the way that I read it is, I look at this and it says 1013 officer down, needs immediate backup. If you are a reader of the slide, that's the first thing your eyes are going to read is the title, right? The headline. So that's the first thing. And then when you go deeper down into it, it says the only time you don't respond to a 13 alpha. So in other words, that is if you action, right? It's not. So let's skip that, right? It's when do you make the 13 alpha? That's the point of contention. Is calling a 1013 on the radio should be clear. Example of do's or do nots. Per blah, 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 5-person. Police are limited to 5 unless encounter has lasted over 25 minutes and is violent, right? So depending on how you read that sentence, I can understand people reading that sentence and not realizing that it's like not an either or. You get what I'm saying? I get the intention of how it's written, but I can also see how someone would misunderstand what that statement is, right? Like, I feel like that almost needs to be at the very fucking top.
Look, we can do it. I have no issues with changing something, but if every time people mess up, we are like, well, this tiny, minuscule one thing could be misconstrued by one person is going to be the excuse of like, if we keep giving that excuse, that is not going to be acceptable to anyone else
It's
but in this circle.
I
Like, I'm going to be honest, like,
yeah.
at some point we have to say, you know, like, we have gone through, we can always improve. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There is always room for improvement in anything you ever do. And I will be the first to tell you that, like, you need to be open to criticism. And I can tell you. But I can tell you one thing, that some people, when they give criticism, there's a limit to how many times that excuse is acceptable. And that's not for me.
Here's the
it's
problem,
for outside
Colt.
of here.
Here's the problem is I disagree that criticism's taken well when you've got Black up there, which is probably one of the most he fucked up just now, and if he's probably one of the most approachable when it comes to changing things, the issue isn't with the approachability, it's the way that we're conveying the communication. And communication is always going to be the most difficult thing, regardless of how we think we're communicating it. Even if we maybe, you are correct. If we have donkeys that, if hit over the head, are not learning, right, that is an issue. But when you have good officers that are not picking up on the communication, that is a communication issue.
But that right there is not a good argument, because the officer in question who did it is not Black.
Well, I mean, the thing
It
right
was
now.
Romano.
Yeah, but Black was, I mean, the situation that just transpired, right?
He's talking about what the officer who
Yeah.
just got shot.
Correct.
I mean, Black just disregarded a correct order, or Chip. One of them just disregarded a correct order. Listen,
yes.
that aside, on the 1013, like,
Yeah.
if we're gonna say that criticism isn't that had nothing to do with anyone receiving criticism, this slide does, the 1013 slide. That's what I'm talking about. Is we can initiate changes all day, but if we go to listen, we all know how this stuff works. We respond to one thing, right? This way, and then we say, okay, well, things weren't clear, and then the criminals, the people that start getting upset, they'll be like, okay, and they're still angry, but they'll say okay, and then we make another excuse and another one like this, and I don't think it adds up. We start just getting shot in the streets, and we don't want to get to that point.
Well, I also don't want to get to the point where officers, EMS, are shot down and they're literally being held on top of a hill, and we have to send it as 4 officers up that hill as a last Hail Mary to try and save them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, Commish. If I'm on the other side, I'm shooting a cop every fucking chance I get, knowing I'm gonna come out on top.
I
That's just the
don't
reality.
necessarily disagree with that, but I think that's I want to be careful us opening up that conversation. While
No,
I
I
think
hear
it is correct, what you're saying, I don't disagree with you. I think right now the problem is about conveying what a 13 alpha is supposed to be. I'm telling you, when I read this slide, it's not obvious. And if I'm having confusion over it, then I'm not going to be surprised if the rest of the force is. Right? Now, this does not discount that people, like you said, may be disregarding, may have their fingers in their ears, and it always comes back to us as leaders to figure out a different approach.
Okay, well, listen, the point we're at now is we have said that we can make this change. We can do that. That is not hard.
Yeah.
But my point still stands. We can't come and look for tiny little reasons why things can be misunderstood and give a Hail Mary to our officers over and over and over again.
Okay.
Because I am telling you, based on my knowledge and experience, that is only going to pave ruin for us eventually. And
I'm with you. I respectfully disagree.
Well, that's going to be a point where we have to respectfully disagree with one another, because I'm telling you that we got to
slam them with both of our dicks, Colt. I think at the end of it. And what I mean by that is we have to knock out those that aren't listening, but equally improve on our the way we convey the message.
Medibiz.
I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah.
I think you're on a different page than me right now in terms of what I'm saying. I'm not talking about our officers. We can continue to look for improvements with our officers. That is not a problem. And we can always improve that, always. What I'm saying to you, Brian, is that from the civilian standpoint of us telling civilians that this happened because of this reason, and if we come to them and say, this minuscule thing right here, this header versus this
Oh,
bolded thing,
I
that's what I'm saying is us
I
answering
I
to
see.
civilians is gonna dry up really quick.
I thought we
That
were.
is what I'm saying.
I got you. I thought we were still on the why do people not know the 13 alpha?
No,
That's
no,
where
no,
I'm
no.
stuck on. I'm trying to solve the communication bit.
No.
Yeah.
I'm talking about we're talking about the same thing but different things. You're thinking I'm saying we don't change this because they should just fucking know this. That's not what I'm saying. And I took that criticism. What I'm
I got
telling you is that if I go to just say like BZ comes to me, the gang leader BZ, the police are doing this, we're gonna start shooting cops in the street, because that's what
Yeah.
happens. Let's be honest. That is what happens
What?
with these
Why did this
criminal groups.
happen to begin with? Can, like, I mean, it's gonna happen anyways. Ignore
was
what
a
I
meth
just said.
sale. Calls what I heard.
No, fuck that. It was from yesterday. That's the whole reason. They were planning on shooting us all day today, and they were upset because of what I was telling you before, Chief. We were
Who was
chasing
they?
these sons of bitches, and we were on their ass. They were slamming officers,
Yo,
slamming
Thug,
them.
thank you for the
I
6
could
months,
pull
man.
5 cops who were on that chase yesterday. All 5 of them would tell you they warned them about 6 times a piece to stop slamming officers during the chase. So I finally, at the last time, said, "Hey, you slam me again, I'm gonna shoot you." They got mad at that. They shot at us. Well, we shot them motherfuckers down.
Yeah.
Problem was, I called 1013 Alpha,
Yeah.
and there was about, I think at the end of that scene, there was about 12 to 15 cops there.
Mm.
Okay, they were upset about that. So today, and I'm using they, we all know who they are. All right. Again, we're speaking plainly here.
Yeah. The
So
reason.
today,
Yeah. Sorry,
we
Bussin',
had them. Yeah,
can
go ahead.
can I stop you there just for a second?
Of course.
The reason why I wanted to pull back from the why is fundamentally, right? I think it's important to find out, is there something that we did that we should have done different? And I think that's an important conversation. But I'm going to be honest here. The main thing I'm concerned with is, how are we going to do it? How are we going to fix it? How are we going to implement it so that in the next 30 minutes, we have a solution? And that's the only thing I think is important, because right at this immediate point, in this immediate juncture, because there will always be a reason we either did something wrong or people want to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't solve the 13 alpha thing.
They sat there and they saw cops, found their meth lab. They were not going to just drive away.
Yeah.
So when we came back, they opened fire. They made it a point today that they were going to shoot the PD, and that was that point right there. Don't get that misconstrued. We all know who they is. We all know who they is. It's they. You guys know who I'm talking about. We don't know their names. We can't prove that it was 100% them, but we all know it was probably them.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
You picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah, I'm with you. I guess what I'm
I
don't
think we need to go there, though.
Exactly. Whether,
what do you mean?
Well, so I'm going to explain it again. Look, we're going to get shot for valid or invalid reasons. It's
100%, and that's
right?
fine. I'm just telling you the information that led up to this. That is why it happened. It's okay that happened. I'm not being out of shape over it.
No,
that's the reality of I'm speaking plainly, because it's good to understand these things. That is why it was shot. This was a one-off. I'm not saying it's going to happen every single time. Probably will.
Yeah,
to be honest, if I was there, I'd shoot y'all.
My biggest thing right now, like I said, is to walk away from this, understanding what our 13 alpha situation sort of looks like, how we got into a position where we had too many officers, and how do we resolve that. And my first question comes into play, going all the way back during whether it's a slide, whether it's announcement, is who attached to that call that should not have.
Me and Payne have already figured that out, and we were trying to handle it.
Okay, who are they?
But it is on command and the sergeants and the corporals to make sure that we are regulating when we go to these calls, that these people that want to just come and get into this happens in every PD. We know this happens, that there are just people who try to get overzealous and just want to be in the shootout. They don't want to miss out on the thing that's happening because they view it as exciting.
Who are they?
I'll send it to you. Listen, I'm
we
not
have
in
to
the business of throwing them under the bus here in this circle. It's gonna be bad. Just let me go handle it. I'll go handle it.
Colt, let me ask you a question, and this is why I'm asking. Is you're not here every day, right? I'm not here every day. If I don't know who these individuals are, what if they do it tomorrow?
Oh, I'll let you know who they are.
Okay.
I have no problem with that. You'll know
right.
who they are. I just don't want to, at this moment, when tempers are high and there's a lot of finger
I'm
pointing
chilling.
and frustration.
I don't think anyone's temper's high.
Yeah.
I think we're all
I
just trying to
don't-
figure out what's going on.
No, I agree. I don't want to throw their name out into the ether. I will drop you guys both a picture because at the end of the day, because me and Payne have a view of the entire radio. We can give it to both of you probably, but we only got this today, so we were able to see. Right? Listen, my only goal is to protect people, right, from the criticism they get from this, right? They should get it. But any other external, you picking up what I'm saying? Any other external criticism, I don't want them to have.
I get you. I'm trying to make sense of, how do I put this?
So
How do we fix? How do you fix this if nobody ever has this information, other than
you will have the information.
How do we
giving you?
Let me to you. Let me give you just. I think I may be not being clear enough. Is if this happens again tomorrow, how do we expect me, Bussin, Black, etc., to unwrap this? Because these people who are being protected, quite frankly, don't need to be, because those problems that you're concerned with is always going to be a problem.
I mean, I get it, but where I can, we should endeavor to not have to do that. As you know, you guys will have all the info. I will make sure every one of the people you just listed has that information. I will post that in our NCO channel so people can see it. But
I got you.
If we want to have a bigger conversation about this later, we can. But I'm not in the business of unnecessarily giving undue stress to people for no reason. There's no reason.
So then none of this ever gets handled in the city? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, it will. I will just do it more discreetly. That's all for today. I think it's probably for the best. If we want to change that, listen, I'm willing to sit down with a beer and we can have a conversation. But for me, let me just, please.
Okay. All right.
So
trust me.
In order to prevent this from happening again, I think the takeaway I hear is we need to revise that slide. And once we revise that slide, make it more clear and understandable for everyone, we'll distribute it in multiple channels. One being shift change. Another will be an announcement in the area that everyone can see that's employed with the LSPD. Okay. That seem reasonable?
No, but I think we need to discuss this further. Like I said, and maybe there's context I'm missing here.
There might be. We will change the slide regardless. That much I'll tell you. My only thing is like, we need to get this shit straight, whether that is like the communication, if it's, blasting it from the fucking rooftops more than what I already did, like we can do that. But I think the reality of the situation is like, I don't know. I think there is a line that gets crossed at a certain point, and I think right now this is a turning point for this PD in general. Is that if we cross this line and we decide to cross it without actually thinking about it, it's going to go bad. I can tell you for a fact it is going to go bad. But we have to consider heavily if we want to cross the line, because once you do that, there is no going back. And then if it's fucked, the PD it's fucked. If the trust with the civilians is fucked, it is.
I don't know what he's referring to.
Listen, I know the thought here right now is, oh, we shouldn't get fucked when they're holding over a medical personnel and 4 officers. I get it. I get it. But we have to look at things pragmatically.
The line you're talking about is changing the 8-unit thing. Is that what you mean by the line?
Yes, I'm talking about allowing more than 8 units in a situation with 5 other people, because once you do that, you're bringing the same problems that have existed.
I think we should consider it. I think what Bussin, correct me if I'm wrong here, Bussin, is you're saying how do we act as a reactionary force if we're bringing the resources we bring are the resources we get, right? As opposed to visiting an alternative, which is there's some level of backup you can receive if something gets hotter.
Here's the reality.
And
Okay, go
this
ahead.
Well,
this
there's
is
more than
this
that.
is indeed a bigger conversation.
Yes.
That that I agree cannot be discussed right now because the outcome it affects the entire city as a whole. It goes beyond just the police department.
Well, that's my point. It's not
Yeah.
just the numbers, it's the level of aggression. Because once we raise aggression to a point that is unsustainable, then the aggression from criminals becomes unsustainable. And then it just starts a cycle of violence and aggression that is going all day long and doesn't go
Yeah.
to one group of people, it goes to all of the groups of people. So, like, we have to look, I don't want to sit down here and say, we should do this and we should do that. I really want people to think about it because is this just a consequence of
Yeah.
what happened yesterday and what happened today? And, then it's over? Or is this something that's going to be ongoing? Because that's the only thing I want to be cautious of.
I think that's a real caution to have. I think finding that middle ground is important for the happiness of both the police force and the citizenry. I would argue though, I don't think we need to have that conversation fully behind beers, because just as I think those conversations being open to all the things that we're worried about, they need to hear that shit too. The audience in the crowd should hear this as well.
Let me speak plainly.
Yeah.
Yes, the audience in the crowd should hear it,
Yeah.
but there should be a baseline that's set before, in my opinion, because if not, we're all saying different fucking things.
Yeah.
And then
Shit gets taken out of context. And
we're all, on the end of the day, we're on different sides, but we're all on the same side. We
Fuck
want
Chang
the same
Gang.
thing. Fuck Chang Gang? What? Who's Chang Gang?
10-3.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, so I just want to set the baseline. Listen, I agree with you, but let's set the baseline and make sure everyone's on the same fucking page. That's all. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Because
agreed.
I don't want shit getting out of hand.
Yeah, I agree.
I respect all of you. Bustin', I respect the fuck out of you. But I also know that sometimes the better conversation's a day later, not the day of.
I'm honestly not mad at all.
I think Colt, you might think me like I kind of low key of getting the impression you think we're more worked up than we probably are. I don't give a fuck.
No. That's not the point I'm making.
I got
It's
you.
just the time to think and process. That's all.
Yeah.
And hear other points of view. That's all. That's the only thing I'm talking about.
Can I just
We can talk conceptually.
can I at least just share what I think should happen? And then we can discuss it
do
over
it for
beer.
the content. and
Okay,
get
I'm going to
ready
do it
for
for
it,
the
I'm sure.
content. I think that 8 units is good. I think we should be supplied 4 additional units in the event of higher escalation, and because that makes sense, and because you don't want to create an environment where you're giving the criminal elements to know that you just fucking blast half our force and then they're going to fuck us in the ass every time.
Listen, there is never a moment that we should be sitting there on the bottom of a hill with 4 officers versus 5 of them.
Exactly.
Having officers at our disposal and having crims being able to sit there and hold an EMS dead in front of them and have a fucking
Precisely.
standoff.
I'm going to put this a different way.
Ridiculous.
Let me chop it a different way, right? 8 units is sufficient for the majority of calls. And if the resupply of units still effectively keeps you on an average of 8, you're still looking good for everybody. Because otherwise, it's never going to be 4 versus 6. 8 versus 6. It's going to be 4 versus 6 each time. Because as long as you blast enough, you always going to come out on top. But if that unit count is re-upped, or to, only in the event of officers down, then you're still leaving you don't know which way the pendulum's going to fall, because you shot down some and some additionals are coming.
I think there's a balance to be struck. I'm not.
Yeah.
Listen, that incident was difficult because there were just Romano shouldn't have 13-8. Let's be honest. But Romano also hasn't been on duty for a week. So she's a bad baseline, and she already knows she fucked up.
As someone who has dealt with these organizations for 5 years, the real concern I think that always comes down to is we don't want 40 cops fucking someone in the ass, but at the same time, 8 officers also is not even us pulling our cock out. It's putting it on the chopping block to get chopped off.
So,
Well, that's
So-
the point. In the
I would
past,
say
it's been enough.
there's many ways to skin this cat.
Yeah.
I'd say let's have that conversation.
Yep.
Figure out a baseline, and then we can open that conversation up. I
Yep.
do agree that is needed. I've got some ideas. I like kind of generally the idea you have. I think we tweak that, add some more flavor to it.
Yeah.
I think we get somewhere.
I'm going to start referencing this as we need to talk to the guy, oh my God, never mind.
Just
Instead of
fucking say
talking
you
about
committed.
civilians, all right, we should just talk about the fucking, whatever, the kingpins that we need to make sure we don't piss off and nuke the entire city.
Oh,
You get what
my
I'm saying?
God.
What?
Oh my. Now they're going to be saying all this.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just
I
the
can't
reality of
believe-
things,
you
right?
miss
I'm not trying to get
reality.
executed.
You fucking farmer. Anyway.
But it's not farming. It's like, talking about civilians. We're talking about, listen, we ain't trying to get fucking murked up by like, fucking,
Brian
it
might be
makes a
source
lot
of
more
my stroke
sense.
At 34 years old.
We don't want the fucking
source of my
feds to
stroke.
come in and shut our department down, It ain't farming. I'm just trying to make sense of it. It makes a lot more sense for the fucking feds to come and shut us down. We got to make sure we keep them happy.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
what
no,
I'm
I
trying to
agree.
say is that makes a lot more role play sense to say the feds are coming through rather than fucking civilians that shot
Oh, yeah,
us.
because that matters at this point. Because that matters at this
Well,
point.
I mean, listen, we're fucking high command. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm giving Bust Insider an APC.
all
I don't even know
right,
what the fuck that is.
all right, all right. Well, I wait the emails and let's chat tonight.
Mediates.
Yeah. I'm not mad at any of you, by the way. I'm a little flustered with the rank and file. I'm not mad at anyone if it came off that way.
No, I
I'm
don't.
just-
I don't.
I want to
I
keep
don't
the
think you're mad.
peace.
The piece can suck my dick. To be honest, fuck these
No,
criminals.
some girl already did that, and the consequence
Well,
of
it
that
didn't
is you
really
pissed
work.
in her mouth.
Yeah, well, I ain't gonna try that shit again.
Brian Knight P-tape. All right, let's get out of here.
Yep. All right.
Ugh,
All right.
God.
Well, how are we gonna get out of here? How the can I? Are
We're
we?
gonna
Is
fucking
Air
walk.
One up and going? This guy's like fucking best flight guy in the fucking city crashes into a hospital.
Yeah, again,
Fucking hate you
Mind
so
blown.
fucking much.
fucking tower. I like a tower moves.